Now the latest from ITV News in the West Country.
Hello and welcome to Monday's programme. I'm Kylie Pentelow.
And I'm John T. Messer. Coming up tonight between now and 6:30, we exclusively reveal more than 50 refugee children have arrived in Bristol illegally.
Also tonight, plans to close wards at more than half of Dorset's community hospitals.
Plus, could a tax on plastic bottles stop them being washed up in their thousands on our beaches and riverbanks?
Find out what happened when I met David Tennant and Olivia Coleman from Broadchurch in a rather unglamorous car park in Clevedon. Good evening. ITV News can reveal more than 50 refugee children are living in Bristol, having arrived in the city illegally. They've turned up unannounced and unaccompanied over the last few months, some having spent years travelling from their war-torn homeland in Syria and Iraq.
City Council leaders have told us they aim to take in 25 refugee families every year for the next 5 years through the official resettlement programme. Our Bristol correspondent Richard Payne has been given exclusive access to some of the latest refugees to arrive here.
Settling into their new home, 3 generations of one Syrian family have some much-needed peace and stability. The journey of thousands of miles to reach Bristol, however, has been long and painful. Karim arrived here with his mother Sahar and 3 other family members at the start of the month. They tell me not all the family have made it this far, their exact whereabouts or safety unknown. This is the Syria they've left behind, a homeland destroyed by a brutal civil war which has claimed the lives of some 400,000 people. Almost 20 Syrian families are now living in Bristol under the government's resettlement programme. That's the official route to gaining a life in this city. But I understand many are here unofficially. As many as 55 unaccompanied children, mostly teenagers, have arrived here and pleaded for the city's help. How they got here may never be known. Why they're here and their chances of staying is now being investigated. In the meantime, those who've arrived, one of them turning up on the steps of a local health centre, have been given shelter and support from the council.
It can have taken them a couple of years from leaving their home to actually arriving in a place like Bristol. They've got survival skills, they are much older than their years in some ways, and in other ways they are young people who've missed out on parenting. So they're complicated or complex people, and we need some really talented people to look after them.
And generous people willing to give up their property. The owner of this house has spent thousands of pounds on it. He's also realising far less in rent than he could have achieved in the private sector. With savings of £100 million to find in the next 5 years, the City Council stresses no local money nor housing stock is being used to finance the resettlement scheme, for which the government gives the City Council £8,000 per person in the first year. The council couldn't do what it is, though, without the help of a small army of volunteers, giving their time and expertise to make property across the city fit for its new arrivals.
It's absolutely imperative that we give them a dignified welcome and that we make a house a home for them and welcome them. They've been displaced for many years and they probably don't even remember what home feels like until they arrive here, and that's why we really do try to make it extra special with the very small gestures that we do give them.
Donations make this house a home. Extra touches aimed at extending a special welcome. Mohammed was one of the first arrivals almost a year ago. His friend Ahmed has had a son born here in that time. They tell me the hospitality and sanctuary Bristol has offered has been life-saving.
Syria no good. Syria no good. كله ضرب. No good. أما Bristol good.
The Syrians who have made it here count themselves among the lucky ones, plucked from a life of danger and fear. Their relief, though, tinged with anxiety for those they've left behind. Richard Payne, ITV News, Bristol.
Well, we're joined by Dr. Lubaba Mamluk from Citizens UK, Bristol. Thanks for coming into the studio. Just first of all, explain what your understanding is of the condition of some of these unaccompanied children that are coming to the West Country.
A lot of the children who come here are on their own, of course, and they have taken a very long journey to come here. And they have varying needs, including language, and some of them have seen trauma. And it's our duty to help them regardless of the need they have.
How difficult is it to find them the right help? Because just listing some of those experiences that they may have, there's a wide range there, isn't there?
I think the council have been working very hard on the children here. So we have around 55 or more unaccompanied children in the city. There's a lot of support from the mayor, who has pledged publicly to bring in 10 more refugee children when the Calais camp was being destroyed, even followed by demanding that we make sure we get those 10 children. And there's a lot of support from all of the refugee organizations, but mostly from the people of Bristol, because they're the ones who are showing a will to resettle these children.
So it sounds like, in your experience so far, Bristol is committing to this in a very positive way. Could the government be doing more?
I think it's the government that needs to do more. I think the backtracking on the Dubs amendment that happened a while ago is shameful. And the blame that it is because local authorities cannot take more, I'm not sure that's correct at all. It definitely is not correct when it comes to Bristol. And hopefully tomorrow we will hear something more positive from Parliament.
And just finally, you are from Syria, you're from Damascus. It is shocking to see the images. Just remind people at home why they're seeing those shocking images on their TV screens all too often.
I think it's important to remember that this is people's homes, and this is called forced displacement. People don't necessarily want to up and leave their homes, their communities, their families, and that whole structure of safety. They are being forced to do so, and many of them may want to return soon.
Okay, Dr. Lubaba Mamluk, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
On to other news now, and a body has been found in the search for a man who vanished on a night out in Bristol 4 weeks ago. 26-year-old Lewis Ball was last seen in the city centre. This morning, police divers found a body in the floating harbour. Lewis's family has been informed.
Work to excavate the former home of the convicted murderer Christopher Halliwell resumed today. Police have extended the initial 5-day search of the property in Swindon as they look for evidence which may link him to other killings.
A footballer has had his home burgled while playing at an away match. Swindon Town captain Nathan Thompson was playing against Coventry City on Saturday when thieves struck. They took jewellery, including the rings for his upcoming wedding.
Next tonight, inpatient wards could be closed at half of Dorset's community hospitals, and the 3 big hospitals in the county plans to cut costs.
Well, it's part of proposed save £185 million whilst improving care for an increasingly ageing population.
In a moment, we'll be looking at the plans being put forward into the counties across the region. But first, our correspondent Duncan Slightholme reports from Shaftesbury, where residents are campaigning to keep their local hospital.
So the proposals are to leave some with the beds and leave some without.
Right, okay. The Save Our Beds campaign HQ's a shop on Shaftesbury's High Street. Volunteers encouraging as many people as possible to comment on plans doctors describe as improving Dorset's healthcare.
Most people have been very, very angry. We've had lots of people coming into the shop. Thousands of people have been completing the consultation documents, the questionnaires. That they really do not want to lose the beds.
Shaftesbury's Westminster Memorial Hospital has 15 inpatient beds used for things like end-of-life care and rehabilitation of the elderly. But the beds could go and other services like x-rays and minor injuries be moved to a new site. The doctors who commission services across Dorset want to create what they call community hubs, places where health professionals work alongside people offering social care. And of the 15 community hospitals across Dorset at the moment, 1 will close, 7 will become community hubs with beds, and 5, like Shaftesbury, community hubs without beds. Blandford and Sherborne will be the nearest community hubs with around 30 minutes drive away. The structure of Dorset's 3 big hospitals is also being looked at. The Dorset Clinical Commissioning Group says it needs to improve quality of care and make sure the NHS can afford it. It says, as we have been clear about since the start of the review, any final decisions will only be made once we've considered the feedback we received during the consultation period. We are reminding people not to miss out on the opportunity to have their say about the proposals. In Shaftesbury, more than 5,000 completed questionnaires are ready to be handed in.
A lot of people have been born in the maternity unit that's now been closed, and many people have lost family and friends through the hospital where they've died and say goodbye to them here. It has a large emotional lure to the residents.
As the town's most famous street shows, there are unique challenges in Shaftesbury. Doctors saying they're trying to iron out inequalities in Dorset, ensuring the widest population has access to the best possible care. Duncan Slightholme, ITV News, Shaftesbury.
Well, as Dorset considers those plans, the clinical commissioning groups from all counties across our region have put forward their proposals to save money. In Wiltshire, Bath and North East Somerset, doctors will focus on preventative care, hoping this will help cut hospital stays. In Gloucestershire, 2 minor injury units in Stroud and Cirencester are no longer open 24 hours, and opening times at another 2 community hospitals in the county may also be reduced in the future. In Bristol, North Somerset and South Gloucestershire, it's hoped that changes to community care will help reduce emergency admissions by 30% and outpatient appointments by 15% over the next 5 years, saving the hospital trusts around £18 million. The changes are all part of plans to transform the NHS and save money over the next 5 years.
And a reminder that you are watching ITV News here in the West Country this Monday evening. Thanks for your company. Still ahead before 6:30. Have Bristol Rugby given themselves a lifeline after an historic win over arch rivals Bath?
And I'm in West Bay, Dorset, ahead of the new series of Broadchurch. We're backstage with the stars and I'm on the lookout for the wintry weather that might be on the way.
Before that, though, a tax is being considered on plastic bottles to stop them polluting our rivers and seas, with thousands washing up here in the West Country every day.
Last year, volunteers from the organisation Surfers Against Sewage collected more than 500 kilos of rubbish from the banks of the River Avon.
Well, under the new plans, there would be an extra charge of 10 or 20 pence for every plastic bottle, and that money would be refunded if the bottle was returned. Francesca Carpenter reports.
Instead of ending up here, more plastic bottles than ever before are washing up here. And unless picked up, conservationists are warning litter like this will live for a very long time.
It fragments, it never truly goes away, it just gets smaller and smaller and more toxic over time. It's harming wildlife, it's harming the environment, and it shouldn't be there.
You only have to walk down to your local beach to see just how big this problem is. Hundreds of these bottles wash up on the shoreline every day, and they can take up to 500 years to break down. Now MPs are urging the government to do something about it. A tax on plastic bottles is being considered. Customers would pay an extra 10 or 20 pence for every bottle they buy, which they'd then be able to claim back on return.
It's something that consumers in the past have done. It's something consumers in other countries are doing with great success at reducing the amount of plastic that gets thrown away. So it's a deposit. Let's remember, you can get your money back, so it's not a direct cost necessarily.
I think it's a great idea, and it's worked for carrier bags. We've got the money to pay for those now. So in the same way, we can make that work for bottles.
What do you think about this deposit scheme?
I think it's quite a good idea, but I think it could be quite difficult for maybe elderly people.
You see it every day, don't you? And it usually gets caught up amongst the rocks, and then it leaves just left for somebody else to clear it up.
A deposit return scheme has already been trialled in Scotland. The government say they're looking closely at this before they make any decisions. Francesca Carpenter, ITV News.
Now, the ITV News continues with the national and the international stories at 6:30. Mary Nightingale has the details.
The 5-year-old who died hours after a GP refused to see her. Ellie May and her mother were late for her appointment. She was told to return the next morning, but she died just 5 hours later. The first victims give evidence to the troubled child sex abuse inquiry more than 2 years after it was set up. And
there's a mistake.
That jaw-dropping moment the Oscars messed up. We examine exactly what went wrong. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Let's remind you of the top story here in the West Country this evening. More than 50 refugee children are living in Bristol, having arrived in the city illegally. The refugees have turned up unaccompanied over the last few months. City council leaders have told ITV News they aim to take in 25 refugee families every year for the next 5 years.
Now, don't forget that you can get in touch with us about any of the stories you've seen on tonight's programme, or indeed if there is a story that you would like us to investigate. We're on Facebook and on Twitter, and our email address is westcountry@itv.com. But now it's time to take a look at the latest sports news.
The ITV West Country Sports Report, sponsored by Bluestone National Park Resort.
And we're going to start with rugby because Bristol gave their Premiership survival hopes a massive boost with a first West Country derby win over neighbours Bath for 11 years. In the end, it came down to a single point, and it was all thanks to former Bath player Gavin Henson, who won the game for Bristol on his return from injury. He kicked all the points, including an eye-catching drop goal. Sameza Rokoduguni ran in a try for Bath, but crucially, they missed the conversion.
It does feel pretty good to be out that long. I feel pretty guilty about it. I haven't done much for the club, so I felt I owed a big performance, especially against our rivals and where we are in the league. We're scrapping for our lives, and I think it's a great performance for us today, and we have to back that up now next week.
Well, outside Bristol supporters told us of their delight and relief at the win.
Well, I think Bristol were just superb all the way through. They were just hung in there, didn't they? And it was brilliant.
A win's a win, isn't it? They just got to keep going.
I always thought we were going to do it. Come on, Bristol.
It's detail the fact that most of the Bath players are playing somewhere else at the moment, but that's kind of detail.
I think they've got to win a few more games, but there's a good chance now of staying up, I think.
It was like another team to the one we saw the other week.
They didn't look like scoring a try, but they just held out, and they're good. It's a good result now. I'm getting the ticket for Worcester next week.
Well, some very happy Bristol supporters there, but the result leaves Bristol trailing at the bottom of the table by just 2 points. There are 6 games left to play this season with a must-win match. That's away at Worcester this Sunday.
On to football, and Cheltenham and Swindon won vital games in their battle to avoid relegation.
Here's Matthias Kurt with a roundup of those games and the rest of the weekend's action.
50,000 were stunned at St James's Park when Bristol City's Aaron Wilbraham headed the Robins in front. When that lead was further extended by David Cottrell, thanks to a defensive muddle-up, City had to pinch themselves. But they couldn't keep Newcastle at bay, who preyed on City's fragility. Corey Smith knocked in an own goal. And in the closing stages, Lee Johnson's men snatched a draw from the jaws of victory, not for the first time. Swindon simply had to win at bottom of the table Coventry, and did so thanks to Nicky Ajose. After he opened the scoring, Jonathan Abika made it 2-0 with barely 6 minutes played. And it was Ajose who made sure of a first win in 6 games. But Swindon stay in the League One drop zone. Cheltenham also got what they wanted in their bottom-of-the-table trip to Leyton Orient. Carl Winchester's bullet of a strike could be priceless, as could the penalty save that followed from Cheltenham goalkeeper Scott Brown. Now pay attention, because this is as close as Yeovil came to scoring in a drab draw with Notts County. And Bristol Rovers have become the draw specialists of late. Their 5th in a row came at home against Scunthorpe.
Matthias Kurt there. And lastly, let's show you a moment of inspiration on the basketball court. Take a look at this. Bristol Flyers were trailing London Lions by 2 points with just seconds remaining, but at the very moment the hooter sounded, Brandon Boggs let fly a 3-pointer to win the game, and you can see what it meant to the home team as well. Huge celebrations there. And that's the roundup of your weekend sport.
Now it is one of the biggest dramas on TV, and tonight it is back.
Yeah, like the other two, the third and final series of Broadchurch is filmed in West Bay in Dorset and as well in Clevedon in North Somerset. And of course the stars, David Tennant and Olivia Colman.
And tonight you'll also see some new faces too, including Lenny Henry and local girl Sarah Parish, who's from Yeovil. Well, during the filming I went to the rather glamorous location of a car park where the production team was based to speak to the stars about the new series. Cameras set, lights on, actors ready. After months of filming, the third and final series of Broadchurch is hitting our screens. Complete, of course, with David Tennant and Olivia Colman, who I managed to chat to between takes. Was there ever a point where you guys thought, I'm not going to do the third one?
No.
No, I don't think there was.
Nice job, well written, and they pay us.
I mean, the first one was a one-off, and then the idea came that we would do two more. So that was sort of, we kind of knew that if we did another one, we'd do two more. That was always the kind of the plan, wasn't it? So yeah, I mean, it felt like such a long way off when we agreed to that, and now here we are in the middle of halfway through the final series. It'll be very sad to say goodbye.
And what's this series like? How does it compare to the other two? Because the first two were quite different in feel.
There are many more dance numbers in this one.
Lots of smiles.
Yeah.
Really happy.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's hard to know until you've seen it as well, because of course we don't get to see it. We certainly don't get to see anything finished for months and months.
And also, we get emails from lovely producers going, "Guys, it's brilliant," but there'll never be a producer who goes, "We're really worried."
We're stuck.
What's it concerning?
Ed.
It sounds her. Can you make it quick? No. Can we talk in private?
Now you're the new girl. What's that like?
It's always really odd coming into a series that has been going for a long time. There's a certain amount of pressure that you feel. Broadchurch is very, very successful. The actors in it are very, very good. So you think, oh, you don't want to let people down.
Did you watch it?
I didn't.
Have you watched it now?
I've never seen it, no. And now I kind of then went, I'm not going to watch it, because then maybe I'll jinx it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, and try and be a certain way.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it. I haven't watched it. I don't want to see any influence at all. But what I'm going to do is, before this series comes out, I'm going to binge watch 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then go straight into 3. So I'll literally Broadchurch.
Oh my goodness,
for 2 weeks.
You're going to love it.
I know.
It's really good.
I know. I've heard.
I think it's a different sort of story, and there's a lot of new characters in it. So we're investigating a crime sort of more than we have done previously. I think we're sort of meeting new people and finding out about them and investigating their lives. Whereas before, of course, the story's been much more sort of part of our own psychology, I guess. So that gives it a different flavour, but it's still the same. Still got the same tone, I suppose.
Does that mean that you two aren't so much the focus of this one then?
So far, yeah.
Well,
it's not. It's something that's happened to someone that wasn't a close friend of either of us.
Yes.
Right.
So we're
finding out about a lot of new people and trying to sniff around their lives.
We'd like to take you somewhere where we can talk. It's just a short drive away. Is that all right?
Are you aware of the buzz you cause when you go anywhere, and how amazing you being somewhere like Clevedon or West Bay is for that community?
You do get a little sea of people all standing with their phones, which I'm afraid I'm not very good at. Because it's so, I can't remember my lines when there's this, behind David's face there are 40 people going. The Southwest has obviously got very fond memories for me, and especially that area of Yeovil and South Petherton and all that kind of area, Crewkern. There are places that I hung out when I was when I was a kid. So yeah, it's been a sort of trip down memory lane.
Now, if you remember the previous series, you'll know to expect the unexpected and maybe a final twist. But even the actors don't know exactly how the plot unravels.
All got theories.
No idea.
And we keep putting them to Chris, the writer, and he's got a fantastic poker face. Just goes, oh.
I love that he's taking our theories away and writing them into episode 8.
Everyone has.
He takes all the credit. We're coming up with it, really.
Everyone would assume that the big stars know what's going on. They're in on it.
It's kind of quite useful not to, though.
In real life, you wouldn't know, would you? So it's quite an interesting way to work, and also it makes great conversation in the makeup truck in the morning. Who do you think's done it?
If you just suspect everyone's guilty all the time.
And we do.
Yeah,
we're terrible detectives.
Yeah.
Let's hope not. Their final case begins tonight.
I can't wait.
Really? You're a big fan?
It's going to be really exciting. We're both big fans, aren't we?
One
thing I want to know, our editor has been locked away for the last 2 weeks putting that piece together.
Yeah.
When did you actually film that? How long have you been staying quiet for?
Well, I've been sworn to secrecy since August. And as you know, I'm not very good at keeping secrets, so I think I did very well.
You've done very well.
So don't miss it tonight. There is plenty more on Broadchurch. It's all on our website. There's the address, itv.com/Westcountry. And on tomorrow night's programme, we'll be finding out the impact that Broadchurch has on tourism, especially in West Bay, which is where Alex is for us tonight.
Alex, you're looking very cold this evening. What's it like there?
Hey, listen, I got the short straw today. It is bitter out here. It's been very windy. The weather's been as changeable as the suspects in Broadchurch. Sunny 1 minute, but just take a look over there and you can probably make out that it is raining. These streaky lines towards the bottom of the cloud base. The rain is incoming, but with the cold air over the region, there's a possibility of some wintry showers and there's an ice warning in place. So let's take a look at the forecast.
Pressure dropping, wind rustling. Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV Westcountry weather.
Well, all day today it has been a very changeable weather story. Very up and down. We've seen some pretty heavy and frequent showers, and the reason for this is the area of low pressure which has been very much in control over most parts of the UK today. You can see a slight squeeze in the isobars, and that's the reason for the winds picking up. Along the south coast here, it's been gusting up to around 45 miles per hour. So as we go through to this evening and overnight, it all stays pretty breezy. The wind's definitely a feature, feeding in a fair number of heavy and blustery showers, and because of the colder air mass that we've got coming in from the north and northwest at the moment, we could see some of those showers turning on the wintry side, so snow over the tops of the hills, maybe even a light dusting at lower levels, but it shouldn't be anything too widespread. But as a result of the possible wintry showers and the cold temperatures, the Met Office have issued a weather warning for ice tonight, so be mindful first thing tomorrow. So tomorrow morning then, it is going to be a chilly start to the day. We'll continue to see more showers feeding through, but they won't be as heavy as what we saw earlier today. There'll even be some breaks in the cloud, so there'll be some spells of wintry sunshine, but temperatures are going to make a slow recovery. We're talking daytime highs of 6 to maybe 8 degrees Celsius come the afternoon. Factor in the breeze, which is still going to be keen, and it will feel quite cold out there. So wrap up wall, looking further ahead, it will start to recover into midweek, temperatures back into double figures, but watch out for more rain on the way, but we'll lose that wintry element.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV Westcountry weather.
Alex, thanks very much. That is it from us this evening. I'll have the late news tonight for you at 11 o'clock.
After the break, the ITV News continues with Mary Nightingale. Bye-bye.